This hour is brought to you by Jeremy Temple Law Office of Bloomington. Personal injury, criminal, business, whatever you need, Jeremy Temple Law Office will get you taken care of.
Well, we're coming to your city. Gonna play our guitars and sing you a country song. We'll all be flying higher than a jetliner. And if you want a little bang in your yin yang, come along.
Well, come along and welcome aboard Indiana Sports Beat with Coy O'Leary here on this third day of February. It's Monday. Welcome in. I'm Jim Coyle, joined by Todd Leary as always. How's it going, man?
Man, it's Monday, that's for sure.
Yeah, it's that post-Super Bowl, the whole deal. It's like, man, you talk about one of the worst Monday afters because this is the end of football season. It's the end of a gigantic day. Some people may have gone into the night, and now you got to come back and just do this.
Yeah, I mean, it is it's one of those days that was very difficult to wake up. And I remember there was a kid who started a petition to have the game on Saturday nights.
Yeah, that's not a bad idea.
It's not a bad. At first I thought, no, you have to have the Super Bowl Sunday. You have to have it on Sunday. And then I thought, well, I guess you don't really have to. That's really a pretty good idea.
I think it is an excellent idea, to be honest with you.
Too.
It's just like when they have the men's basketball national championship on a Monday night. That game goes into midnight every time or later.
Yeah. Some of obviously the TV dictates most of that stuff, but gosh, it sure seems like the Super Bowl on a Saturday night would make a lot of sense.
The women have it right. They do Friday, Sunday. I mean, that's even better than Monday, but I'd rather why not do a Thursday, Saturday?
I'm in. I agree.
Do they really think they're not going to get a big audit? Well, you got those two Final Four games, which would be tough to have them on Thursdays, but I guess. Oh, well. But how the Super Bowl, man, back in the day, it seems like the Super Bowls always sucked. It'd be all this build up, and then it would be a 49-10 game or something. And last couple of years, these games have been pretty daggone competitive. Yesterday was another good one. You had San Francisco kind of leading the way, and then Kansas City doing what they've done. They're the only team in NFL history that trailed by double digits in the playoffs and won all three games.
Yeah, it's insane. I mean, that's – I know a lot of teams, and you heard the interviews after with Patrick Mahomes talking about, they just have a lot of heart and they never give up and stuff like that. I mean, I love Patrick Mahomes. I truly do. But when you make statements like that, it's almost like you're saying, okay, well, the other team doesn't have heart then because they didn't win. And I really feel like the confidence level, we talk about it in basketball so much, but the confidence level when you've been in a situation where you've come back from behind and then now you've done it repeatedly, and especially the Tennessee game, they were down 24-0, whichever game they were down 24-0. I mean, that's just unheard of. Like, you don't, and heck, they were ahead by halftime. Like, it's just incredible how their comebacks have been, but it's not so much the heart. I mean, all those guys out there have heart. They all want to win. They're all trying as hard as they can, but man, when you've had the confidence to be able to come back, you never really, I mean, until that clock stops, you never really feel like you're out of it.
No, and they asked the Honey Badger. They were interviewing the Honey Badger after the game. And that was one of the questions, because with 9 minutes to go, you guys were down 10 or whatever they were down. He goes, did you guys have any doubts? He's like, no, never. It's like they don't.
Yeah.
And that's a difference between a level of playing at that level and then high school, college. These guys, they really believe that. And I remember being in games where like, oh, we're screwed.
Right.
We're down.
Sure.
We're out. We're done. It's over. And it's a different mentality.
Yeah. And they are, that Kansas City team is a little bit like Golden State was, 4 years ago or so. And they could go on scoring runs and score 12 points in a minute and a half and just go crazy on you, and they could be down and all of a sudden make a huge comeback, or they could be close to tied and they could go on a big run and have a big lead. And this Kansas City team, a lot of teams in the NFL don't have that capability. They're not built for that kind of game. And that team specifically was, and they they played right into it. It played to their strengths. I mean, I'm not a Kansas City fan. I'm not a Kansas City fan. I don't have really any reason to root for them. But anyone that I don't know very many people that didn't root for Andy Reid and didn't root for. It's hard to root against Patrick Mahomes unless you were just a true San Francisco fan. But it's a team that was built for scoring a lot of points, and that's a fun brand of football to watch.
And you had Tevin Coleman that was in this, his second Super Bowl in 3 years, which is awesome, except for the fact that it's his second Super Bowl in 3 years that he lost after having a double-digit lead.
Yeah, incredible. I mean, he's got to feel jinxed. But, man, what a weird setup they have for their running back situation in San Francisco. I mean, he's the starter.
Yeah, and they led the league in rushing this year.
Yeah, and he's the starter, and he has big runs, and then you bring in the Mostert guy, and he looks great. He looks incredible. And so then you're fighting back and forth between who's playing what possessions, and it's just I don't see that formula being sustainable for a long period of time.
Well, something else I noticed is that, I just mentioned they led the league in rushing this year. Well, they only carried the ball 22 times yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, and they threw it effectively. I thought Garoppolo played, other than, the very, very end. I mean, they had a chance. They truly did. I mean, what I liked about the way the game played out is it was a lot like you see the NFL all year long, where you get the game kind of goes back and forth a little bit. Then you get to the fourth quarter and it becomes a little bit more urgent. And then you get down and it seems like even in games where there hasn't been a whole lot of scoring, you get down to the last 5 minutes of the game and there's 3 touchdowns or 2 touchdowns on a field goal, or the lead just alternates back and forth. And that's kind of the way this game was. The difference was, I think a lot of the questions leading into, or at least a lot of the talk shows I watched, were could Jimmy Garoppolo make the plays when he had to? And I thought for the majority of the game, I really thought he did make the plays. And I thought he played better than Patrick Mahomes for a good portion of the game. But when he had to make the plays on that last drive, they didn't do it. And I think that's going to be the stigma against him all year long.
I agree with you. And Tevin Coleman, we got a little sound to hear from him, so let's hear what he had to say.
It took a lot of work. It took a lot of focus, but we didn't come out how we wanted to. We didn't get the job done.
So, is there something in your mind that kind of stands out, like you'll be thinking about, like why it didn't happen?
You know what I'm saying? Definitely look back and just we didn't get the job done. We didn't make enough plays to win the game.
That's about says it all right there. There's not much more you can say, really. I mean, if you want to be honest.
Yeah,
they made more plays. And that's usually how the games go. The other team makes more plays. I mean, we see this in the Indiana game. The other team made more shots. They took more shots. They made more shots. Right. It's a numbers game, man.
It is, no doubt. But I mean, when you take the way that San Francisco is built, and you look at the lead that they had in the fourth quarter, that's generally one you're going to say, yeah, I mean, they're going to be able to run the clock out. They're going to be able to run the ball down the field, probably kick another field goal or two, or score a touchdown, and they're going to salt this game away. And, his summary is right on. They didn't make enough plays. And when Kansas City needed the stops, they got it. And they did make the plays, and they got rewarded for it.
Somebody who did not make the plays over the weekend was the Indiana Hoosiers, as they lose to Ohio State 68-59 on the road, which, it's not an excuse because, to be honest with you, this is probably a team another game they should have won. They were better than Ohio State, but they weren't better than Ohio State on Saturday. But they're better than Ohio State, especially when Ohio State doesn't have DJ Carton. But that wasn't the case. Indiana did not get things together. They did not play well. They didn't do things well. And they looked really, really disjointed, maybe more so than at any point this season, Todd.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't think that they really had a punch to come out in that game and make a big, I don't want to say a big comeback. I mean, they were down, I'll say 7 to 12 points throughout the majority of the game, especially the second half. And, it's kind of, similar and parallel to what the Super Bowl was like yesterday. Only the difference is Kansas City is built for scoring points and making big runs, and Indiana is not. And so if they get themselves behind in a basketball game, I mean, they're not made for guys that are going to come out and they're going to pick the tempo up and pressure you more on defense and, get some turnovers and score baskets easily and quickly. And, you and I talked about it after the game show that, they lost by 9. I know right before that it was probably like a 15-point lead, but it didn't even really seem that close. Like I never felt like Indiana was really getting ready to make a run and come back in that game. And so, I think you're exactly right. I think Indiana had an incredible opportunity to go win 2 games on the road this past week. And Penn State played horrible when Indiana went there, and that was a great chance to steal one, and Indiana just didn't play well either. And then on Saturday, Ohio State played okay, but they didn't do anything, extraordinary that you would say, they just kind of overpowered Indiana in this area. And I just thought Indiana just didn't play well again. I mean, it was 2 solid basketball games of 4 halves of, not great basketball from the Hoosiers.
Yeah, we got a lot to talk about when it comes to that. We'll hear from Archie later on. We'll see what all we can dig up sound-wise. Don Fischer, the voice of the Hoosiers, of course, is on next, brought to you by Jeremy Temple Law Office. You're listening to Indiana Sports Beat with Coyle O'Leary coming to you from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios. Back with Don Fischer right after this. Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat. When I'm not covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, located on the northeast corner of I-65 at Veterans Parkway. Bubba's 33 has hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer from a select list of local craft brewers. An incredible food selection, all made fresh daily. Whether you're meeting the team for that post-win meal in the family dining area or meeting friends for happy hour to watch the game on one of Bubba's 50 TVs. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
I'm Rain Shaddy, and I'm a Hoosier. As a toddler, you could always find me running around in a cream and crimson onesie and a red IU hat reminiscent of those worn during the world-famous William Tell timeout, shouting, "Go Hoosiers!" Like many other alum, I chose to make Bloomington my home. As a civic and alumni leader, I have become very knowledgeable about our community and would love to share my insights with you as your realtor. Find me on Facebook or call or text me, Ryan Shaddy, with FC Tucker Bloomington Realtors at 765-623-9093.
Now that warm weather has arrived, it's time to hit the links, and there's no better place than the Golf Club at Eagle Point in Bloomington. Voted best golf course by the readers of the Bloomington Herald-Times, the Golf Club at Eagle Point is under new ownership, has new fairways and bunkers, and it's open to the public. When the round's over, there's cold beer and a full menu at the Eagle Point Pub and Bistro. Call 812-824-1100 to make a tee time. That's 812-824-1100. The Golf Club at Eagle Point in Bloomington.
This is A.J. Moye.
This is Dan Dockett.
Hey, this is Michael Lewis, former Indiana basketball player.
This is Indiana football coach Tom Allen.
This is Jim Coyle with the Indiana Sports Beat. You can always like and follow us on Facebook. Always follow the show rebroadcast on iTunes, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Spotify. TheDailyHoosier.com is a great place to sign up for each and every day. Or, of course, on 97.7 The Ref in Evansville.
Bad theater seats, cheap Halloween masks, my apartment, all things with obstructed views. Add to these large trucks and buses. 18-wheelers and large buses have big blind spots, and like my apartment, they don't always have the best view. Bus and truck drivers deal with blind spots around the entire vehicle. Always take care not to ride alongside or too close behind them. Our roads, our safety. Learn more at sharetheroadsafely.gov.
Hi, this is AJ Moye, and you're listening to Indiana Sports Beat with Jim Coyle.
Don Fischer is brought to you by Jeremy Temple Law Office of Bloomington, located on the square, 123 South College Avenue. Business, personal injury, whatever you need, Jeremy Temple Law Office gets it taken care of. Welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat here on this Monday into February at the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios. And now, of course, couldn't start the week off any better than the voice of the Hoosiers, Don Fischer. And Don joins us now. Don, how are you, buddy?
I'm doing well. The weather's breaking a little bit. Nice sunny days and warmer than normal. That's all you can ask for here in the early part of February.
Yeah, I know yesterday was Super Bowl Sunday, but that game didn't start till very late, and it was a very warm day. I know you had to be on the golf course yesterday.
No, I wasn't. I didn't even think about it, to be honest. I didn't know it was going to be that warm, number one. Number two, we had a little bit of a Super Bowl party here at the house with my family members, and we had kids over and stuff like that. So really, basically, it was cleaning up the messes that we've made over the last couple of weeks so that nobody saw them. And then, of course, as the day wore on, of course, it got to be late in the afternoon, and we were all getting ready to watch the Super Bowl. So, and it was a great Super Bowl, incidentally. I really enjoyed it, and I loved it for Andy Reid.
Yeah, it was awesome. Isn't it amazing how the Super Bowl has become like a Thanksgiving or a Christmas with families and friends?
It truly is. It's become one of those things where if you're not invited to a Super Bowl party or you don't host one yourself, you're out there going, what am I doing?
Yeah,
so, no,
exactly.
it was really pretty cool.
Exactly. And it's a tough deal for Tevin Coleman again. Second Super Bowl in 3 years, but, of course, second come from a head loss for him as well.
Yep, it is. I mean, I was rooting for Kansas City, but I wouldn't have had a problem with San Francisco winning, especially with Tevin on board and playing good football for them. And I feel bad for him, but Andy Reid has been one of the best football coaches in the NFL for years and years now. He's beloved by virtually everybody, and he got to the Super Bowl once, and it didn't go well. He got to it a second time, and obviously he's able to get a win. And I just think everybody was rooting for Andy Reid yesterday, whether it didn't matter who you were a fan of, you couldn't be unhappy for Andy Reid.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree with you more. Back on the side of the Indiana Hoosiers. Not a great weekend for Indiana, Don. They've lost 3 in a row now, but, of course, those last 2 coming on the road. They get to come back home. Hopefully that can change things, change the momentum. But Archie is obviously talking in the press conferences like changes have to come.
Yeah, and I don't blame them. This team struggled this past week. In 2 ball games, I really thought they could win both of them. I thought they could beat Penn State at Penn State, and Penn State gave them every opportunity. It was 28-28 at halftime. Penn State was shooting it poorly. Indiana was shooting it even more poorly. They just didn't. They couldn't shoot the basketball at all throughout the ball game. They ended up hitting 33% of their shots. Well under 35% for both halves. They turned the ball over 12 times in the second half. After you've got them tied at 28 all you've got to do is, I say all, you've got to come out in the second half and you've got to play with intensity and focus and make sure you take care of the basketball. Indiana didn't do that. They turned it over 12 times in the second half. The guard play was, from a shooting perspective, was absolutely atrocious. 4 guards shot a combination of 3 of 26 from the field. I mean, that's your 4 guards. Devontae Green, Rob Finney, Armand Franklin, and who am I forgetting? Al Durham. Those 4 guys combined for 3 of 26 shooting in the contest. You're not going to beat anybody when your guards shoot that poorly and then turn the ball over, or at least a combination of turnovers for the entire ball club in the second half. 12 turnovers in that second half just destroyed their chances to win. I go back to the Michigan State game where Indiana won every category in the points from turnovers, paint, second chance, fast break, and bench points. Indiana won every category against Michigan State, every one of those categories belonged to IU. In the Penn State game, every one of those categories belonged to Penn State. That just can't happen if you're going to win.
Absolutely. And now that they come back home, they enter must-win territory, Don, because this Big Ten juggernaut continues to roll forward. I was looking at the standings. There's 5 teams within like half a game of each other at the top. It's nuts.
No, it is crazy. There's no question. And we didn't even touch on the Ohio State ball game, and I should touch on that before I talk more about the Big Ten. But when you look at the Ohio State contest, it was okay. Your guards play poorly in the game against Penn State. You come back against Ohio State, your guards play better, and the front line goes to heck in a handbasket. I mean, they can't out-rebound Ohio State, a team that in the first ball game when they played them, they kind of dominated the boards in that game. They allowed Caleb Wesson not to get even untracked. And in this game, Wesson gets 15 points and 11 rebounds. Indiana gets out-rebounded 31-24. The Hoosiers shoot 50% in the second half of this ball game and still get blitzed in the contest and because of some late shooting, some late scoring by Devontae Green. And I guess he scored, 10 of his 13 points in the final 6 minutes of the game when the game was already out of hand. So I sit here and I just shake my head at what happened in this contest, because the one strength that this team has had or relied on all year long has been their front line strength. And in this ball game, they get out rebounded, and they were not as physical as Ohio State, and therefore you get beat for a third straight ball game. And that's just the kinds of things, and that's why Archie Miller is saying right now we've got to make some changes, and we've got to change our path.
Yeah, and you talk about the rebounding, Don, and you're right. They've lived on being the dominant team there. Offensively, they got out-rebounded 11-4, and I think that number was like 8-0 for a while, but they were just getting killed on the offensive boards.
Right, and this is a team that is very capable of playing with anybody on the boards because they've got really good players. Joey Brunk, Trace Jackson-Davis, Justin Smith. Obviously, they've been shorthanded with Race Thompson not being able to play, but Deron Davis has been playing better of late. They've got plenty of strength in the front line, and in this game, that department did not show up, and that can't happen with this team because that is their strength. Along with defensive play, this team is very good defensively when they're concentrating at that end of the floor, and they are a really good rebounding team, and they have been most of the year. I think they've only been out-rebounded twice, and Saturday against Ohio State was the second time. So I don't know where right now they're at with their heads, and that's a big issue right now at this point in the season because you're in the middle of the grind. And that grind's not going to end for another month, and you've got 9 Big Ten basketball games still to play. And right there in front of you is the rest of this season. I mean, this team could finish very high in the Big Ten standings. Probably not going to win unless they just go on a tear here. They're probably not going to win the Big Ten, but they could find themselves finishing in the top 4 of the league if they just play up to their capabilities, and that gives them 2 byes in the Big Ten tournament. There's so much to play for at this point in the season.
Yeah, not only that, you've got teams around them in the Big Ten standings, Minnesota, Purdue, Ohio State. Those guys are all fighting to make sure they stay in the NCAA tournament by staying up or as high possibly in the standings. Indiana's down in that mix, so there's no margin for error from here on out.
No, there's not. I mean, you've got to win your home ball games, and then you've got to steal 1 or 2 or maybe even 3 on the road. And Indiana is capable of doing that. It's not like they're going to be playing Michigan State every ball game on the road. They don't even play Michigan State again. They do have to play Minnesota. They do have to play Michigan. They've got to play Iowa on the road, and they got to play Illinois on the road. So they've got some tough ones. But they've also got a couple that are very capable of winning, and they can beat any of those teams if they play up to their capability. But they've got to do it at home, and they've got to be able to steal 1 or 2 on the road. And if they do that, they're going to give themselves a chance to finish high in the standings, and that's what right now that's what you're fighting for.
I absolutely agree. And to go back to your point earlier, it's like they're not in sync, whether the front court and the back court in a particular game. It's one's going well or the other one. They can't seem to get everything in line together and get that offense running in a smoother fashion. This seems kind of disjointed.
Yep, there's no question they're struggling right now, and I'm not sure if it's just a confidence thing, if it's the inability of these guys with a chemistry issue. I don't know. It's hard to judge. I mean, I think this team believes it's got good chemistry with one another. Maybe the chemistry shouldn't be so good. Maybe somebody should get out there and take a leadership role and get in somebody's face and tell them, this is what we're supposed to be doing. You're not doing that. Start doing it, or sit down. It's somebody's got to take a hold of this team from a leadership perspective. And all these guys are quieter. They're not that kind of guy, so to speak. There's got to be an alpha male amongst them, and I hope somebody steps up and becomes that.
Yeah, we've talked a lot about the fact that this team does not have a floor leader. And when they're out there, there's nobody that will say, hey, guys, and that brings them together and points them in the right direction when they're not going in that direction. And you can see that they're critically missing that.
Well, Rob Fennessy, to me, is the only guy that can do that because of what he does at the defensive end of the floor and the fact that he is pretty good with the basketball in his hands. He doesn't turn it over. He makes good decisions most of the time. Yeah, he's not shooting it as well as he should, although against Ohio State he knocked down 4 of 7, including a couple of big three-point shots in that ball game. But Rob is a really quiet kid, and I think sometimes he's reticent to take on that leadership role, and I think he's the one guy that needs to do it. And I don't want to sit here and cast aspersions on him because I think the kid's just a great young man, but he's got to get more vocal. He's got to become more of that vocal leader that this team needs right now. And he'll get back up from the couple of other guys, the Joey Brunks in this ball club, who, if he needs to have physical help when he confronts somebody, he always says to Joey, take care of this for me. So, I'm speculating here. I'm just on the outside looking in. But I do think that this team has got to find a vocal leader and somebody that will step up and really step on other people's toes. It's that simple.
Absolutely. They have a week off now, Don, before facing rival Purdue. I don't know if that's good to have another week off with what they've been going through or not. We'll find out. But definitely a big game coming up with Purdue coming in at home.
Well, it is, and probably the week off this week probably is a good thing for this Indiana basketball team. It gives them time to regroup, to rethink what's going on with this ball club, and kind of recommit their goals, so to speak. And this is a ball club that I think needs to do that right now. They also need to get Race Thompson back in the mix because he was starting to really come into his own, becoming a physical presence out there, and then he misses 3 straight ball games, plus a half of the Michigan State game as well, getting hurt in the first half of that contest against the Spartans, in which he was playing the best basketball that he's played all season long. And it looked like he was really starting to come into his own, and now he has another setback with an injury. This kid can't get a break in that regard. But hopefully this week gets him well. He'll be ready to go on Saturday against Purdue. Hopefully everybody else can stay healthy. We're seeing more out of Jerome Hunter right now. That's a plus. But they've got to find that vocal guy, that guy that's going to be the leader in the clubhouse. It just takes a hold of these guys and says, guys, we've got to do it this way, not that way.
Absolutely. Don, I can't thank you enough for joining us here each week. We appreciate you, and we look forward to doing it again next week. Hope you have a great week off.
All right. Thanks, Jim. We'll talk to you soon.
You bet, Chip. And, of course, Don Fischer is brought to you by Jeremy Temple Law Office of Bloomington, located on the square on Southwest Kirkwood Avenue. 123 South College Avenue is the address, but it's right there on the corner. 812-336-7229. Personal injury, criminal, business, whatever you need. Jeremy Temple Law Office of Bloomington gets you taken care of. Hey, we've got lots more coming up here on Indiana Sports Beat, Coyle and Leary. We're back Monday, February 3rd. Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios right after this.
Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat. When I'm not covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, located on the northeast corner of I-65 at Veterans Parkway. Bubba's 33 has hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer from a select list of local craft brewers. An incredible food selection, all made fresh daily. Whether you're meeting the team for that post-win meal in the family dining area or meeting friends for happy hour to watch the game on one of Bubba's 50 TVs, Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. pizza, burgers, beer.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
I'm Rain Shaddy, and I'm a Hoosier. As a toddler, you could always find me running around in a cream and crimson onesie and a red IU hat reminiscent of those worn during the world-famous William Tell timeout, shouting, "Go Hoosiers!" Like many other alum, I chose to make Bloomington my home. As a civic and alumni leader, I have become very knowledgeable about our community and would love to share my insights with you as your realtor. Find me on Facebook or call or text me, Ryan Shaddy, with FC Tucker Bloomington Realtors at 765-623-9093.
Now that warm weather has arrived, it's time to hit the links, and there's no better place than the golf club at Eagle Point in Bloomington. Voted best golf course by the readers of the Bloomington Herald-Times, the golf club at Eagle Point is under new ownership, has new fairways and bunkers, and it's open to the public. When the round's over, there's cold beer and a full menu at the Eagle Point Pub and Bistro. Call 812-824-1100 to make a tee time. That's 812-824-1100. The golf club at Eagle Point in Bloomington.
This is AJ Moye.
This is Dan Dockett.
Hey, this is Michael Lewis, former Indiana basketball player.
This is Indiana football coach Tom Allen.
This is Jim Coyle with the Indiana Sports Beat. You can always like and follow us on Facebook. Always follow the show rebroadcast on iTunes, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Spotify. TheDailyHoosier.com is a great place to sign up for each and every day. Or, of course, on 97.7 The Ref in Evansville.
Bad theater seats, cheap Halloween masks, my apartment, all things with obstructed views. Add to these large trucks and buses. 18-wheelers and large buses have big blind spots, and like my apartment, they don't always have the best view. Bus and truck drivers deal with blind spots around the entire vehicle. Always take care not to ride alongside or too close behind them. Our roads, our safety. Learn more at sharetheroadsafely.gov.
This is former Indiana basketball player Greg Green. Keep up with the Hoosiers on Indiana Sports Beat with Jim Coyle.
This segment is brought to you by Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
In every season, the story's never written till the end, but, we're going to have to change paths here and change course of how we're playing. And, the only group that can really get themselves out of it is us. Like every team that kind of goes through it, you find your tough guys, you find your togetherness, and you have to find a sort of a way to break through in the moment of truth. And, for us, as we get back, our next opportunity is Purdue at home. And nothing's going to mean more than that day.
There's Indiana basketball coach Archie Miller telling us something, I'll be honest with you, that we already know. Talking about that they need to change paths, change course. Yeah, they need to change because they're going in the wrong direction. We'll get to that in a second. Over the weekend, Todd, Bob Knight, another Bob Knight sighting. He was I think it was pregame for Bloomington South High Schools. They was taking on Terre Haute South, but Bob Knight getting out and about and talking. Can you imagine being a high school player and Bob Knight stepping up? I mean, I know you experienced it, but as a high school kid, these high school kids, I mean, especially like the freshmen are on that team. It's just amazing. And he's an imposing figure on top of that. I guarantee he was the biggest guy in the room, probably. But man, to have Bob Knight stand in front of you, that's got to be pretty imposing.
I doubt it is, to be honest with you. With these kids nowadays, I mean, the only thing they know about Bob Knight is what their parents have told them, or something they read, or if they watched an old YouTube video of him going crazy or flipping out or something. I mean, they don't know that. When you watch coaches on the sideline and you see the craziness and you see him going nuts on people. Then when you see him in person, it's imposing. These young kids. I mean, think about it. Coach Knight left Bloomington 20 years ago. I mean, these kids weren't even born yet. And it's just, I don't know. I mean, I know what you're saying. I know when their parents tell them, what a big deal it is. Anthony Leo, I mean, the kids from Bloomington may be a little bit different. They've grown up with it being talked about their whole lives. But, yeah, I mean, I'm sure it'll be cool for them later on to understand, who they just had in front of them.
Yeah, it's one of those deals that later on they'll get a picture. Hopefully, they got a picture with him, and 30 years from now they can say, "Dude, that was a pretty awesome experience."
Yeah, I mean, it was. I always say one of the coolest things that Coach Knight did for us as players at IU was bring people in to talk to us all the time, and we got to meet just some incredible people like Dwayne Lucas from horse racing from down in Kentucky, just a Hall of Famer in horse racing, and just an unlimited number of basketball people, Larry Bird and
Bill Parcells.
Bill Parcells, Tony La Russa. I mean, we just had some of the most incredible people come in and talk to us, and that was one of the highlights truly of being there.
Well, he had great respect for those coaches, those guys that he deemed were like himself, almost a savant when it comes to coaching, because these guys they were just. I mean, you think of Bill Parcells; he's the precursor to Bill Belichick. Bill Belichick learned under Bill Parcells,
right?
It's just one of those things.
As did half the NFL coaches,
right?
I mean, it's incredible when you see what that's like, But then he also had a bunch of yes men around him that were just annoying. Digger Phelps and idiots like that who would come around. Like I could not stand Digger Phelps, and I had zero respect for him as a coach, and I didn't like him when he came in there either. But he used to come every year. He never missed it.
Indiana now a loss over the weekend to Ohio State, 68-59. A road, we talked about this a little bit earlier. They were on the road, so it's not a shock. But this is one of those road games. Ohio State not playing well, didn't have DJ Carton. An excellent opportunity for Indiana to get off the mat and do something they haven't done this year, because we've talked about this Big Ten race. There are 5 teams within a half game of the top, Todd. That's nuts. I mean, Rutgers is a freaking half game out of the lead of the Big Ten in February.
Yeah, well, and they're probably, I mean, they'll stay around that area, and they'll stay on the top half of the Big Ten for sure. I mean, defensively, they're good enough. They're going to be in just about every ball game. It's really going to come down for them whether they can steal a few on the road or not. But yeah, I mean, you look at the whole thing. It's still to this day. I mean, I think we've been waiting for the run to happen for Ohio State and Michigan, and man, it hasn't. They're still down there. I mean, they are 11 and 11? No, 11 and 12. Number 11 and 12 in the Big Ten. I mean, they are down there at the bottom. And, you keep seeing all the projections of teams that are going to be in the NCAA tournament. And a lot of different projections have 10 teams in the NCAA tournament, and they all include Ohio State and Michigan. So I think everybody is expecting those two teams to go on a run and get themselves up there in the top half of the Big Ten. But, man, they've not done it so far.
Well, and Indiana down toward the bottom right now at 5-6, but they're with Minnesota, who's underneath of them, Purdue right ahead of them, Wisconsin 6-5. There is a Michigan 4-6, Ohio State 4-6. Those teams are still fighting for tournament berths. So Indiana's going to be in the mix with those guys. Indiana does not have any margin for error the rest of this season.
Yeah, these 2 home games they have, in the next 2 weeks are huge. And the reason why they're so big is because following these 2 home games, you got 4 out of 5 on the road. And the one team you've got at home in the middle of all of that is Penn State. It's a team that's already beat you. So, this stretch of 2 home games, obviously you got the rivalry in Purdue. You need to win that game. And then you've got Iowa coming in. And Iowa is a team that
playing really well.
They're as good as anybody. When they shoot the ball well, they are probably the best team in the league.
They're one of those teams that's in one of those 5 teams that's fighting for the champion league.
Iowa right now is to me is real similar. Now Luka Garza, Indiana didn't have anyone like Luka Garza, but if you think back to the 2002 Indiana team that went to the national championship game, Iowa's team is a lot like that team in that they shoot
gritty,
the ball when they shoot the ball well, they're very hard to beat. You give them a lead at the end of a game, they can all make free throws. They take care of the ball. They don't throw it away. They can make threes. They can go inside. This Iowa team is one of those teams that you could look at in the NCAA tournament. And hey, I'm also going to say they could not shoot the ball well and lose in the first game of the NCAA tournament. But if they shoot the ball well, this is a team you could see going to the Final Four. I really could.
You know, I'm looking down to the standings. On the road, Rutgers sitting down in fourth, tied for sitting down in fourth, 1, 2, 3, 4. They're 1-4 on the road. They're the first team that has a horrible away record. Illinois is even on the road. Michigan State's even on the road. Maryland's one game under 500. Rutgers 1-4. Then even Iowa 3-3. Penn State 3-3. Wisconsin 3-5. Those guys are doing pretty well on the road. Then you drop down to this next level. Purdue's 2-6. Indiana's 1-5. Minnesota 1-7. Michigan 1-5. Those teams. There's your difference right there. They can't get that win on the road that we're talking about, that all-important win on the road. Rutgers, that's surprising to see them up there because they're one of those teams. They're going to have to find that win somewhere or they're going to drop down a little bit. But Indiana is going to have to find a win on the road, I think. I mean, I think that if they hold serve at home, they'll be okay. But it's just going to be that. It's going to be okay with no margin for error, and you don't want to go into the Big Ten tournament and get knocked out in the first round and then put your fate in the hands of the committee.
Yeah, you don't want to. I mean, if Indiana wins the rest of its home games, they'll have 20 wins. That'll put them in a position to be, they'll be in the tournament at that point. They won't be any big surprise for anything. And that's what, the expectation level, it changes with every game. It changes all the time. It changes throughout the season. I've heard Archie Miller. This is something that I've always found interesting, and I'm glad Archie Miller recognizes it the way he does. But your seasons go through these ups and downs, and the season is very, very long. People don't really realize it, but the season is really long. And once it gets to this point, you've got to find. I keep saying the term every week. I keep saying Indiana has to find their identity, and I almost feel like I need to come up with a different way to describe it because for some reason it just never seems to work out for them. But they've got to get on a roll, figuring out what they're good at, and whether that's going to be a mid-range game or whether it's going to be driving the ball to the basket. They've got to start getting themselves back to the free throw line. But they've got to start doing that. You don't just all of a sudden flip a switch and make that happen. Once the Big Ten tournament starts, or the NCAA tournament starts, and now's the time for them to do that. I mean, they've got 2 home games. These are two really, really big games, and I know you've said that, but I really feel like in order for them to overachieve for the year, right now I'd say they're probably right on par with where everybody would have expected them to be.
Yeah, I think from a fan's expectations, they were probably expecting a little bit more. But from a realistic standpoint, I agree with you. They are right where I thought that they would be. And I think they said that. I think they're going to be in that bottom, in that section that's fighting to get in at the end of the season. And unfortunately, that's if things continue like now, that's exactly where they will be. It's up to them whether they alter that course, and they can do that with one great road performance as long as they hold serve at home. But we haven't seen anything close to that yet. And that's a little scary because we're in February now, Todd, and you know that when you're in February, that you can see a team that is trending upward or a team that is not. And if you're not trending upward in February, you got problems.
Yeah, and you do. And here is kind of the interesting part, and kind of, adding to what I was saying about Archie recognizing the ebb and flow of a season is you have to, you also have to get lucky and time that right. I would say one of the teams over the years that does the best job of timing that right is Michigan State. I think we all agree when it comes tournament time, they are usually playing their best basketball. I don't want Indiana playing their best basketball in January. We want them to continue to improve and get better. I think the issue has been, we'll see glimpses of them playing well and playing better. And then all of a sudden they go on the road and play as bad at 2 games this week as I think you can play. And Fish said it on there, and I said it earlier, that both of those games they had on the road last week, Penn State and Ohio State, were both very winnable games. Neither team played very well. And so those were both winnable games, and Indiana didn't take advantage of it. So, they have got to figure out a way. I mean, the ups and downs of the season, you've got to make sure that once, you got to get something to start building on. I'm not saying they need to come out in the next game and play a perfect game. Truly, I want them to have a little bit more up and down, but mostly heading up in the right direction, trending the right direction, and then get to March and then really be playing well. Because you can play well for a solid month. It's hard to play great and continue to get better for 2 months.
Well, for solace for some Hoosier fans, over the weekend, Tim texts us in that the Indiana's 2020 recruits combined for 84 points over the weekend in 3 games. Galloway had 27 points. Anthony Leal hit that last-second shot for Bloomington, number 1 4A Bloomington South, to beat number 3A Silver Creek, which has Trey Kaufman and Cooper Bybee. They won 69-66. And then Jordan Geronimo, he goes with 29 points.
Cooper Bybee gets to play back.
I mean, not Cooper Bybee, but Cooper Jacoby, rather. Boy, you don't say those names. As soon as you do,
yeah, I know.
It's Cooper Manning, or I'm surprised I didn't say Cooper Manning.
Right.
It's because that's an unusual name you don't say a lot. But, so a good weekend for those guys. Hopefully that's some good news for Indiana fans coming forth. And then Tim asks, do you think Bob Knight's friend Bob Hamill is taking that around to a few high school games to see how he does before bringing him to the IU game or locker room to visit for practice? Yeah, I don't know that Bob Knight needs much practice.
Yeah, I don't either. I mean, I don't think that's the case. I mean, I've said this for a while now, and, I got to spend some time with Coach Knight back in November, and health-wise, the people that are around him are the ones controlling what he does in a day. He's not deciding whether or not he wants to go to Indiana or Marion or wherever it is. Like, every day when he gets up. I mean, my grandfather had Alzheimer's and dementia, and it's a terrible, debilitating disease, especially when someone you love has it. And, Coach Knight, I think that there are days when my grandfather, there's days I would walk in and he was my favorite person in the world. And days I would walk in and he would not even recognize me. And then there's other days I would walk in and we would have conversations about stuff we did 25 years ago. And Coach Knight's kind of in that same scenario. I mean, he sat in a room with guys that had won national championships for him and guys who had been with him for 5 years of playing time and all that. And he could not have told you any of our names sitting in there. So he's not controlling what he's doing on a daily basis.
Right. And even with that, just the fans seeing him is crazy. They still it's kind of wild.
Hey, his ex-players seeing him is crazy. Like, we love it. Like, it is, he is still that imposing figure no matter what. Like, the disease, none of that can take it away. All of his accomplishments, everything he's done. I think we all hope that if out of any of it, I want him to come as a player. I want him to come because I want him to know. He should know, and I think he does know. But I would just want one last time for everybody to recognize how much they love him and let him see it one last time. But he holds a grudge like nobody's business, and I just don't know that there's been so many really, really great opportunities for him to come back, and for whatever reason, it's never happened. And that just is disappointing. And, we'll see. We keep thinking it's going to be this next game and the next game and the next game. And there's all these reasons why it should be happening. And it just doesn't ever happen, it seems like.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, and there's no point in putting all the pressure on it. We'll just let it happen. And when it happens, it does. And if it doesn't, it doesn't. It's been 20 years anyway. So why all of a sudden the rush? I mean, I know why, but right. That's not going to change anything, I guess, is my point. And I think your point as well. We'll see. Indiana now, they've got to get things back on course. The women, don't forget, they play. Speaking of Purdue, the women play Purdue tonight, Todd, on the road up in West Lafayette. They went through a little slump there where they lost 3 in a row, but then they got back on the winning side. And they're a team that was fighting for that top spot in the Big Ten, fell down a little bit. They got to get back up there.
Yeah, I mean, they've got to, like I said, it's hard to play, really well all year long. And they're they ran into that. They were playing great at the beginning of the season. I think they hit a little bit of a lull. Every coach, I think, will all tell you, yeah, we want to continue to get better every game and play well all year long. But if you go back and look at the history of good teams, men, women, it doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't even really matter what sport it is. When you get a long season like it is, at some point in time, they generally go through a little bit of a lull. And I think that's what the Lady Hoosiers did. And hopefully they're fighting back through it. I mean, they still haven't played great. I mean, they've had to come from behind in a couple of recent games. But I think they'll hit their stride again right in time. And their tournament starts a week earlier than the men's does in March. So they don't have a whole lot of time left before they've got to start battling for that Big Ten tournament championship.
No, and amazingly enough, Indiana is what 1, 2, 3, sitting fourth, but they're 2-3 in conference play.
Yeah,
that can't be right. Is that right?
They've had to have played more of the games than that.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking in the conference. Here it is. They're actually 7-3. My bad. 1, 2, 3, 4. But they're 2 games behind Iowa now. There's a game that they could have won. Man, at Iowa no less. At Iowa no less. Should have won that game. They lost that game. They lost the game to, was it Wisconsin, that they had the big lead, fourth quarter lead. And, man, you just can't do that stuff.
Nope, you can't.
Not to win a championship.
Yeah, I mean, you've got to put the team – you may have one of those games throughout the season, but the teams that always seem to end up winning somehow squeak those games out and win a game. That Iowa game on the road, that's a difference maker. I mean, that truly – you hate to say that early in the season could determine the Big Ten champion, but I mean, I think it probably put them in a position where they were going to have a serious uphill battle to win it after that.
Absolutely. I mean, and Iowa's sitting in first right now. Indiana just a game and a half back. We'll see what they can get done, hopefully. But tonight's a big opportunity for them because Purdue, they're sitting further. Well, they're not that far down. They're just a couple spots behind Indiana, 6-4 in conference play. They're 15-7 overall, while Indiana is 17-5. So these teams are not that far apart.
Yeah, no, and they're going on the road, so that's always difficult to go into that place and win. And Purdue's going to have a good crowd there, and it'll be a battle. They need to win that one though if they're going to have a chance at the title. It
absolutely will. Hey, man, and in the next hour, guess what? We get to go over our bets that we made.
Oh, you had to do pretty good, didn't you?
I don't know. I didn't get to add it up, but I'm not sure because I took the passing, didn't I?
I can't remember.
Yeah, I had it. I wrote it down, but
I did too, but I can't find the paper.
I found it. I took Todd both over. You took both over for 300. But we'll get all that in the next hour. You took the over 219. What was that? Oh, game total rushing yards.
It wasn't over.
Yeah. Did it?
Yep.
You better thank Tevin Coleman, former Hoosier. But yeah, I took the passing bets, I think, but we'll go over all that stuff. Mike Schumann is going to be with us in the next hour as well. We're going to talk about the Big Ten some games yesterday. Todd would talk about some really good games.
Yeah.
Iowa and Illinois. How about that one, man?
That was
Wisconsin
a battle.
And Michigan State. But yeah, that Illinois game and Iowa battle that came down 72-65. Illinois, they've been playing as well or better than anybody in the conference, Todd.
Yeah, they are. In my opinion, they're the best team in the conference, and they had a 4-point lead with about 6 minutes to go in that game at Iowa, and Iowa just went on a tear. They went on a run, and when they make shots and get it going, Luka Garza gets it going. They have the best inside-outside punch. They've got the best shooters and the best scoring big man maybe in the country, or real close to it, top 3 in the country. And so when they get it going, they're tough to beat. Absolutely.
We've got a ton coming up here on Indiana Sports Beat yet. Mike Schumann from the Daily Hoosiers is going to join us. Like I just said, we're going to talk about the Iowa defeating Illinois, Wisconsin over MFSU. We're going to look more at the Big Ten standings and see what Indiana has to do as they have the week off to prepare for the Purdue Boilermakers on Saturday. So we got lots more. Stay tuned. You're listening to Indiana Sports Beat with Coyle Larry coming to you from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios. We're back with all that and more right after this.
everybody. Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat. When I'm not covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, located on the northeast corner of I-65 at Veterans Parkway. Bubba's 33 has hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer from a select list of local craft brewers. An incredible food selection, all made fresh daily. Whether you're meeting the team for that post-win meal in the family dining area or meeting friends for happy hour to watch the game on one of Bubba's 50 TVs, Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
I'm Rain Shaddy, and I'm a Hoosier. As a toddler, you could always find me running around in a cream and crimson onesie and a red IU hat reminiscent of those worn during the world-famous William Tell timeout, shouting, "Go Hoosiers!" Like many other alum, I chose to make Bloomington my home. As a civic and alumni leader, I have become very knowledgeable about our community and would love to share my insights with you as your realtor. Find me on Facebook or call or text me, Ryan Shaddy, with FC Tucker Bloomington Realtors at 765-623-9093.
Now that warm weather has arrived, it's time to hit the links, and there's no better place than the golf club at Eagle Point in Bloomington. Voted best golf course by the readers of the Bloomington Herald-Times, the golf club at Eagle Point is under new ownership, has new fairways and bunkers, and it's open to the public. When the round's over, there's cold beer and a full menu at the Eagle Point Pub and Bistro. Call 812-824-1100 to make a tee time. That's 812-824-1100. The golf club at Eagle Point in Bloomington.
This is AJ Moye.
This is Dan Duckett.
Hey, this is Michael Lewis, former Indiana basketball player.
This is Indiana football coach Tom Allen.
This is Jim Coyle with the Indiana Sports Beat. You can always like and follow us on Facebook. Always follow the show rebroadcast on iTunes, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Spotify. TheDailyHoosier.com is a great place to sign up for each and every day. Or, of course, on 97.7 The Ref in Evansville.
Bad theater seats, cheap Halloween masks, my apartment, all things with obstructed views. Add to these large trucks and buses. 18-wheelers and large buses have big blind spots, and like my apartment, they don't always have the best view. Bus and truck drivers deal with blind spots around the entire vehicle. Always take care not to ride alongside or too close behind them. Our roads, our safety. Learn more at sharetheroadsafely.gov.
Hey, it's Michael Lewis, former Indiana University player and current UCLA assistant basketball coach, and you're listening to Indiana Sports Beat.
Welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat with Coyle Leary here on this Monday, February 3rd, the month of presidents. Todd Lurie with us as always as well. Jake's at the wheel, keeping us on the track. My friend Bobby Sheridan texted in. He was 5 for 5 on his Super Bowl bets.
Jeez.
He does a pretty good job. Sheridan Report, baby. The Sheridan Report. Check it out.
What was ours?
Well, your bets were you bet $400 on Mahomes rushing? What was that?
No, not rushing. I had the combined over.
You had the both over on rushing,
and that went over.
It did.
Uh-huh.
What was the combined rushing? 219.5. You sure it went over?
I am positive. It had San Francisco had 141 rushing yards, and Kansas City had 129.
There you go. They blew that thing out of the water.
Yeah, I mean, rushing-wise, 104 yards for Williams. I don't think they expected that for sure.
Then you had that is the over 19.
I don't
I
understand
can't.
how
I lost my sheet that I had it written down. I don't know what
I took the passing ones. Right.
But you took the unders. You should have won.
Good. I won. I won $1,000. Yay! I won $1,000. I'm the king of the betting world.
But your buddy that's 5 for 5, that's pretty incredible.
Yeah, because let me tell you, I bet fake money, and I promise you,
Yeah,
Bobby Sheridan and the Sheridan Report, ain't nothing fake about that, baby. Winning, Tiger blood.
Big bucks.
Tiger blood and winning. Man, we were talking about Iowa and Illinois before we went off. What a great game that was. That was a battle. That was a fist fight, backyard alley fight, everything. That was just a great battle.
Yeah, it was. I mean, Luka Garza, I think, finished with 25 points and was scoreless 15 minutes into the game, which is pretty incredible. But, that game was that. You're right. That was two heavyweights. That was two teams with big, giant guys on it. They're playing well. It's fun to watch games like that when you see two teams play good. And obviously, you're going to have a winner, and generally it's the home team that's going to come away with it, and that's pretty much exactly the way it worked out.
And then kind of a surprise, Wisconsin outlast Michigan State. Man, they had leads on them, big leads, and Michigan State kept coming back.
Yeah,
they ended up winning that game, 64-63. Wisconsin has worked their way into the tournament, I'd say, by now.
Wisconsin, I still disagree. I mean, they're 13-9 overall. They have what I do agree with.
Really good wins.
They've got some of the best wins in all the Big Ten, no doubt about it. I agree with you. But I mean, in the long run, I think the Kobe King thing. I think it's addition by subtraction. I think that overall, enjoyable wise and as a team, I think it's the right decision and the right thing moving forward. But I think that's going to hurt them in the long run. I mean, I think that'll catch up to them. I mean, they've got, their road games they have left. It's truly probably going to come down to their last game of the year, which is at Indiana. But they've got to win their home games. I mean, they've got a pretty easy schedule when you look at it. They go to Minnesota this week. But then they've got Ohio State at home, and then they go to Nebraska, and then they've got Purdue and Rutgers at home. But, I mean, that's just what I mean. Purdue could very easily go into Wisconsin and win. Rutgers could go into Wisconsin and win. I mean, and they can't afford any of those. With nine losses already, they cannot afford any more of those.
No, Wisconsin, I mean, if you look back at the Indiana team last year that lost, 12 out of 13 games or whatever that was, They were still on the bubble of getting in, and they had those good wins over Michigan State, but I think that was it. I think Wisconsin's already got them beat with better wins than that team last year did. So, man, I think they're going to end up fighting their way into that thing.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at the projections right now and the bracketology and everything they do, you remember on the show Friday, Clark Kellogg talked about, this Saturday, CBS and he will be putting out, their kind of 3/4 of the way through the season, if the season ended today, brackets. And, right now, all the brackets that you see still have Michigan and Ohio State in there. And they're really going to have to battle to get to keep themselves in that position. And most of the brackets don't have Wisconsin in it. And I'm with you. They have so many good wins. It would be so hard to keep them out. But I'm not sold on them as a team yet. I think they could still have, if they have one or two more bad losses, like losing to a Rutgers at home or a Purdue at home, and they don't win another big road game, I don't think they can get in. They can't afford any more slip-ups.
Yeah, it's going to be a fight. I mean, it's nothing that they don't have margin for error either.
There's a big difference between 13-9 and 15-7, which is what Indiana is versus what Wisconsin is, and there's a big difference in that. Those two wins are huge.
Yeah, but when you look at the Big Ten standings, Wisconsin has done much better within what is looked at as the best conference in the country right now. And Indiana took a lot of flack for that early season week schedule.
But they haven't done much better. I mean, they're 6-5, and Indiana's 5-6. I mean, there's one game better.
Well, I mean, as far as the quality of wins,
I hear you.
That's the only
truly,
way. It's close.
Indiana,
yeah, I mean, it's close either way.
Here's the thing: 3 weeks from now, we will know.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because Indiana's got 4 out of 5 on the road after these 2-game home stretch. After that, they've got 4 out of 5 on the road. So, their next 7 games are huge. The thing I don't like about Indiana's schedule is they only play, they play this Saturday and then the following Thursday. So they only play
2 games,
two games in the next 10 days, and they've been off for 2 days now as it is. So, I mean, 2 games in 2 weeks, that is not a good schedule. That is, as a player, that's not a good schedule. They need to be out on the floor playing.
We talked about, or you've said that you think that the Big Ten champion this year is going to have 5 losses. Well, right now you've got Illinois and Michigan State at the top. They've already got 3. They're 8-3, and so that's 11. So you got 9 games left in this Big Ten season. I definitely think that one of those 2 teams is definitely going to lose 2 games more. Maybe both of them do. I don't know. But I think it's going to be very close to that.
I'll bet you both of them. I'll bet you if someone only has 5 losses in the Big Ten, they will win it outright. There won't be anyone with less than 5 losses.
Yeah,
I don't think.
It's going to be crazy. You'd have to go back and see how long it's been since the Big Ten champion had 5 losses.
I mean, Illinois, I think Illinois is the best team in the league. Okay. I mean, and I really do. I know you've heard me say that a bunch of times.
Well, them and Michigan State have exact records, 8-3, 16-6.
But listen to the schedule that Illinois has. And it's just like, this is pretty tough. Their next 4 games, they've got Maryland and Michigan State at home. And then they got 2 games on the road. They've got at Rutgers and at Penn State. I mean, look at that. Their whole season is tied up in the next 4 games right now.
Yeah, because to win the Big Ten, they have to go 3-1 in that stretch, I think, to win the Big Ten.
I agree with you. If they go 3-1 in that stretch, then I think that they will.
That'll put them ahead.
Yeah,
yes, I
agree for sure.
Because that's good God, that's a tough row, man. That's a murderer's row. Maryland's playing good right now. Maryland's another team we haven't talked a lot, but they're a half a game back of those 2 teams that we just talked about, Illinois and Michigan State. I mean, Maryland's right there. Ever since that win at Indiana, Maryland has really propelled themselves.
Well, Maryland plays Michigan State twice through the rest of the season, so they still have to play them 2 more times, and they go through a stretch where Michigan State is getting ready to play Penn State at home tomorrow, and then their next 3 games are at Michigan, at Illinois, and Maryland at home. So
if you think the Big Ten has been fun so far, folks, wait. It's about to get real.
We got 3 weeks right now worth of really, really crazy good games.
And it's just going to these standings, they may flip-flop. I don't think there's going to be a ton of wholesale change, but Illinois, Michigan State, I don't see them getting rooted out of the top, one of those 2. But Maryland cannot be counted out. They're playing well enough, but they're not as good as those 2 teams.
Well,
but they're playing pretty well. And Iowa.
We'll know pretty quickly because Friday Maryland plays at Illinois, and if Illinois picks up another game on Maryland and puts them that much farther behind them, I don't think they can make that up. I just don't think Illinois will lose that many games. But I mean, between Illinois and Michigan, I'm telling you, 5 wins for sure. I think 5 wins the Big Ten outright.
The only thing that would make this funner is if Indiana was in that mix, but this is a good old-fashioned Big Ten brawl, and golly, is it fun.
Yeah, it is. This is to have this many really good teams. Usually you'll have weeks where, maybe you'll have one good game and there's a leader of the Big Ten who is so much better than everyone else that, that team is most likely going to win, and they'll end the season with 2, maybe 3 losses in the Big Ten. Like I said, I think I said 5 wins a minute ago, but 5 losses in the Big Ten, I truly believe right now would win the Big Ten outright. I'm here. Did we lose Jimbo? Maybe he disagreed that much with everything I had to say. I mean, it wouldn't be the first time for that. But, I mean, just going along and looking at the schedules. Hey, there he's back.
Hey, back. I thought I lost you for a second.
And we thought we lost you for a minute.
How about yesterday, talk about that Illinois game. Your man, Kobe Coburn, 6 points.
Yeah.
6 points, 6 rebounds. So he wasn't a big
he had some foul trouble. He set out a good portion of that second half with foul trouble. But like I said, he's not, he's a lot like Trace Jackson Davis in that he's not a guy they throw the ball to and he has his back to the basket and he makes a good post move and scores. Like he scores off of offensive rebounds and guys driving and kicking it to him. And he's not your typical big man.
They got 17 points off the bench. Their leading scorer came off the bench yesterday, Felix.
Oh, yeah, and I think that's 2 games in a row he's done that because he had a big game. He had a big game the game before.
You're going to win a lot of games. You got a guy coming off the bench and knocking down 17 every game.
And they're a tough team. Like their guards are mean and tough and aggressive, and they can shoot the ball and they can drive and they can kick it, and they've got good big guys. That Georgie, I don't even know how to begin to pronounce his last name, but that guy, whatever team he was on, he would make them better. Every team needs one of those guys, and Indiana doesn't have somebody like him, unfortunately.
We got lots more coming up. Mike Schumann from the Daily Hoosiers is going to join us. We got plenty more to talk about. Don't forget the Indiana women's basketball program on the road tonight at Purdue. That game will be on the Big Ten Network. Hopefully the women can go up and get them a win and keep that deal going. But Mike Schumann is going to join us next. You're listening to Indiana Sports Beat with Coyle O'Leary coming to you from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios. We're back right after this.
I'm pressing on, up away, upward way, new heights.
Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat. When I'm not covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, located on the northeast corner of I-65 at Veterans Parkway. Bubba's 33 has hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer from a select list of local craft brewers. An incredible food selection, all made fresh daily. Whether you're meeting the team for that post-win meal in the family dining area or meeting friends for happy hour to watch the game on one of Bubba's 50 TVs. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
I'm Rain Shaddy, and I'm a Hoosier. As a toddler, you could always find me running around in a cream and crimson onesie and a red IU hat reminiscent of those worn during the world-famous William Tell timeout, shouting, "Go Hoosiers!" Like many other alum, I chose to make Bloomington my home. As a civic and alumni leader, I have become very knowledgeable about our community and would love to share my insights with you as your realtor. Find me on Facebook or call or text me, Ryan Shaddy, with FC Tucker Bloomington Realtors at 765-623-9093.
Now that warm weather has arrived, it's time to hit the links, and there's no better place than the Golf Club at Eagle Point in Bloomington. Voted best golf course by the readers of the Bloomington Herald-Times, the Golf Club at Eagle Point is under new ownership, has new fairways and bunkers, and it's open to the public. When the round's over, there's cold beer and a full menu at the Eagle Point Pub and Bistro. Call 812-824-1100 to make a tee time. That's 812-824-1100. The Golf Club at Eagle Point in Bloomington.
This is AJ Moye.
This is Dan Dockett.
Hey, this is Michael Lord, former Indiana basketball player.
This is Indiana football coach Tom Allen.
This is Jim Coyle with the Indiana Sports Beat. You can always like and follow us on Facebook. Always follow the show rebroadcast on iTunes, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Spotify. TheDailyHoosier.com is a great place to sign up for each and every day. Or, of course, on 97.7 The Ref in Evansville.
Bad theater seats, cheap Halloween masks, my apartment, all things with obstructed views. Add to these large trucks and buses. 18-wheelers and large buses have big blind spots, and like my apartment, they don't always have the best view. Bus and truck drivers deal with blind spots around the entire vehicle. Always take care not to ride alongside or too close behind them. Our roads, our safety. Learn more at sharetheroadsafely.gov.
Hi, this is AJ Moye, and you're listening to Indiana Sports Beat with Jim Coyle.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat. Coyle Leary coming to you on this Monday, February 3rd. Joined now by Mike Schumann from the Daily Hoosier. Michael, how are you?
Gentlemen, how are you guys doing today?
We're great. We were just discussing the possibility of doing an unedited version after the edited version. I wonder how people would take to that because, everybody thinks it would be a great idea, and then you cut us loose, and you're like, oh, wow, oops.
Yeah, maybe after a 3-game losing streak, unedited is not the right way to go.
That's probably not the time to do it.
Yeah, I remember, guys, I have a 5-year Bob Knight vocabulary education. So
Todd Leary, unedited, unfiltered.
I can use words in ways you never dreamed of.
I'm going to change the name of After the Game of Todd Leary to Unfiltered with Todd Leary. After the game.
Well, if we start doing that, we will definitely ramp up the listenership.
We may have to. Who knows? But Mike, things. Indiana's at a crossroads. They've got to get their play shored. They've got to decide that they want to compete in this Big Ten season because these other teams are competing and they're sitting down. They're in an area where there's no margin for error right now. And we've been talking about this. They've got to win out at home. They need to steal a win on the road. They're not in danger of missing the tournament, but they have no margin for error for not doing so.
Well, that sounds like danger, especially on a 3-game losing streak.
Especially when you're playing like they are.
Yeah, here's the thing, guys. I hate the stupid must-win cliche, but Saturday is a must-win. There's just no way around it for so many reasons. First of all, Purdue's not a good team this year. I think if you've watched them play, they're kind of like Indiana in a lot of respects. They struggle offensively, and Indiana. This is, I think, probably stunning to a lot of people, but Indiana's lost 5 in a row to Purdue. So just from keeping the mob from turning on this coaching staff, I think from that perspective, it's important too. But more than anything, it's your point, Jim. This team cannot afford to lose home games. There's no reasonable expectation of winning on the road the rest of the season if you look at the schedule. So these home games against teams like Purdue and Penn State and Minnesota, Wisconsin, that they absolutely have to get. I would say that there's no margin for error at home unless they sneak one out on the road, which I don't see. So there's just so many reasons, and not even to mention just psychologically, where is this team at? Losing 3 in a row. A lot of these guys were on the team last year that lost 12 out of 13. So I'm sure that is seeping into their conscience a little bit in terms of, are we repeating what we did last year? That they have got to find answers this week. That's the bottom line.
And the scary thing is, they're not even really staying level. They've kind of dipped, and that's okay if they can bounce back. But I was talking with Todd earlier. This is a very, very, very important month. It's February. It's the month before March, obviously, duh. But what March means, tournament basketball. You've got to find yourself. You've got to be trending upwards in February, heading towards March. And when you're not, man, if you're going down, you're going in the wrong direction. And this team, to me, right now, they're heading in the wrong direction.
Yeah, and I would say especially offensively, I just can't for the life of me figure out what they're trying to get done offensively. You got 3 guys in your starting lineup that can't score from outside of 10 feet, and it's just creating a situation where the paint is packed. They're running a lot of actions that doesn't create a lot of spacing in the offense. That's, even if you get past a high ball screen, Fennessy's got nowhere to go. I don't see what they're trying to do. And, I just don't see, Archie talks a lot about, finding your peaking in February, and there's no indication that that's coming right now.
Yeah. Hey, Mike, this is Todd. I totally agree with that. And that, you can look at it right now. They could have lost. I think the Maryland loss is really the one that I still go back on that hurts the most, even though both games last week, both at Penn State and at Ohio State, Indiana might have played two of their worst games of the year. I mean, they're just not playing well, as both of you guys just kind of hit on. But the Maryland loss, going back to that, is the one that to me just really hurts, because it puts you in a position where that was the margin of error and you gave it away. And now, you've won one on the road and you've lost one at home in the Big Ten, and you can't afford to have that be a negative number from your home games. And these two home games this week, or in the next 2 weeks, the next two games they have, Purdue at home, you should win. But if Purdue shoots the ball well, they're as good as anybody. They've got two really, really good defensive players. They've got a couple of good big guys. They should be better than what they are. They just can't shoot. And that's that's almost exactly the description you can give of Indiana. But I think in hearing the press conference, I'll be interested in that Purdue game. I'll be trying to figure it out all week long in what, when he talks about they've got to make some changes, in my opinion, and this is just me saying this, but even though I don't think he's done anything to play his way out of the lineup, I really think Indiana is better overall in the long run without Joey Brunk in the lineup playing long minutes. I think he needs to come in and be that guy that gives somebody a 4 to 6 minute break, twice a game. But I don't think this team can be their best and get up and down the floor at the pace they want to get up and down the floor with Joey Brunk on the lineup. And I don't know that that's the direction that Archie Miller is looking at going right now. But I'm ready for him to shake something up and just start playing. They've got to change their whole identity right now.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of what he said, Mike, Archie talking post-game, that they got to change directions, and I think it's more about what Todd's talking about.
Yeah, and I don't even think that's necessarily a condemnation of Brunk. I think he does a lot of good things for the team, but when you try to have him on the floor with Jackson Davis and with Smith, I just think you don't have enough versatility in your lineup. So, I like to bring up Jerome Hunter on the show every week, it seems like, and I know, Todd, you probably cringe when I do it, but I do think he is emerging, and I do think he's the kind of player that if he actually is emerging, if he's actually doing what I think he's doing and kind of growing back into his game and getting his rhythm back, he's the kind of guy that you need out there rather than the three guys that I mentioned that really can't score in the paint. You need somebody that can space the floor like that.
Yeah, hey, you would have laughed. Because Jim even gave me a double take this weekend when we were watching the game, and I said I loved the lineup that was on the floor, and it included Jerome Hunter. So you would have laughed if you had seen me at that point, because I agree with you 100%. I think that lineup I saw on the floor that had Rob Finney and Al Durham and Justin Smith and Jerome Hunter and Trace Jackson Davis, that's the lineup to me that needs to have, 4 of those guys playing 30-plus minutes. And then, if Devontae can come in and get hot, then he can, steal 20 minutes from somebody. But that's the lineup to me. And Jerome Hunter, I agree with you. When you say emerging, like I would say he's just barely tiptoeing into the emerging level. Like
he's got his nose out of the water.
He barely does, and he can breathe just a little bit. But he is doing some things differently, and I agree with you. Like I saw him trying to drive the ball in the lane, and he missed the shot, and I just was like, oh no! Now that he missed that, he's never going to do it again. And he's doing some little things that I really think I would agree with you. I will flip the switch completely. When he comes in and all he does is shoot 3-pointers, he could be 5'10" and it wouldn't make a difference whether at his height or what he is. But he is starting to do some things a little bit differently, and I agree with you. That's the lineup I would like to see the most.
Mike?
And I was kind of surprised when I looked at the box score. He actually played 28 minutes.
28 minutes. I saw that. I know.
Yeah. So if we talk about what we're going to see different on Saturday, which I agree, Archie said it something's coming. I think that might be it. Whether he starts or not, You know, I think his minutes are just going to keep going up. And,
you know, when you think back on it, I mean, if you look at, and I'm not ripping him, this is not an indictment against Joey Brunk, but I mean, he doesn't have a lot of experience. Even though he's a junior, he does not have a lot of experience on the floor, and he didn't play a whole lot at Butler.
Right.
And for some reason, we have brought him here and thrown him in the lineup for 25 to 30 minutes a game, and I just don't know that he's that kind of player.
Yeah, and I my only thing I can figure out with that is that Archie really likes him, you know, from a leadership perspective, from being a strong voice on the court, you know. But I think if he was playing more 15, 20 minutes, you know, he's a great asset because you don't, with this team down in the paint, you really don't have to worry about foul trouble, you know, with him and Jackson Davis and even Deron Davis, who I don't think's been playing all that badly here lately either. I think.
Well, then now we can find something to disagree on. We've officially found the topic to disagree on because no team that Deron Davis can play on can compete in the Big Ten or compete in Division I basketball
for a championship
at all.
The only reason I like what he's doing is because I think he's a good passer out of the post, and I think he gives you just a body against a guy like
he's the only passer in the post that they have. Seriously,
you know,
I'm serious. He's the only guy that I see that does a good job in the post, passing out of it, but not necessarily out. But you know what I'm saying. He does a good job with his interior passes.
He does, except for, I mean, here's the thing. He gives up defensively. Yes, I agree with you. The big body thing. You need him to come in there and Bill Lambier somebody and hack a shack a couple of people.
But he's not doing a good job of that, is like he used to.
But he gives up baskets so easily, and then. Like he undoubtedly shoots a couple of little shots every game, and I swear it looks like he's playing on a 12-foot goal, and everybody else is playing on a 10-foot goal because he can't elevate an inch off the floor, and it's embarrassing. Like he cannot compete at this level. He is probably the nicest kid in the world, so I don't want this to sound like I don't like him. He's a good person, but I know a lot of good people that don't have any ability to be playing in the Big Ten, and he's one of them.
Yeah, and I understand it. And you have to have those guys to not the guys you're talking about, but you have to have the opposite of that. You have to have the guys that can compete if you're going to win a Big Ten championship.
Joey Brunk can compete. Joey Brunk can play. He can play in the Big Ten. He can't play for 30 minutes, not at the pace that Indiana. I think we all agree. Maybe you don't, but I at least think Indiana is at its best when it's not flying up and down the floor, but when it's pushing the ball at a decent pace and getting a shot in the first 12 to 15 seconds of the shot clock. And with Joey Brunk, they don't do that. They try to move it around, and they try to get him the ball with about 12 seconds to go in the shot clock. And that's just the beginning of the end for me. And that slows them down. Defensively, he's okay, but he's not great. And I think they're a better team when they have the more athletic up and down lineup in there. And I think right now Joey Brunk coming in could take over the minutes that Deron Davis has been occupying when he's in the game. And there's a good 12 to 18 minutes you could use him for.
They're missing a guy. And it's no coincidence that they're a scholarship short of players as well. But I think they're missing this one extra guy that, whether it's the slasher, somebody to do that, to open it up, because we haven't seen that. They don't have that on the team. Well, they do, but they're not doing it with inconsistency. Rob Finney sometimes gets to the rim. Al Durham has been trying a little bit lately, I think, a little bit more to get to the rim.
Justin Smith went through that 3-game spell where he was driving the ball and slashing to the basket a little bit.
And doing good with it.
From that. Yeah. I don't care what he misses.
It opens up things when they do that. I don't know if they don't. Surely they understand that it opens up other options offensively for that team when they're doing that stuff.
Yeah, but if you got everybody kind of off their man, not really guarding the 3-point line, all that stuff's harder to come by. And Todd, you mentioned the faster pace of play. I remember I asked Archie after the first game. I think who did they play? Western Illinois. You know, they were up and down the court. You know, truly looked like the transition offense that we've always heard that Archie likes to run. But, you know, shame on me for thinking anything about that against Western Illinois. But he said after that game that, you know, he felt like he finally had enough big men that could, run up and down the court, that they weren't going to get tired because he had, 7 scholarship forwards that could play up and down the whole game. And I think there's some truth to that, but I just don't know in the Big Ten, with the way everybody gets back, with the way everybody's physical, that you can really reasonably expect to run consistently in this league.
Yeah, I mean, I would love to see in the last, probably 5 seconds is probably too low, but if you had a shot chart for what Indiana scores in the last 6 seconds of the shot clock, I think, one, their percentage would be ridiculously low, but two, I think the amount of shots they take in that period of time would probably lead the Big Ten, because you don't see Michigan State. I mean, if they get a good 15-foot jump shot with 18 seconds left on the shot clock, they shoot it. Indiana doesn't. They continue to run that, whatever it is they're running. And finally, somebody gets the ball with his back to the basket, with about maybe 10 to go. And then he takes a couple of dribbles and then a shot fake that doesn't go anywhere. And then at the end of the day, we're taking a rushed shot by somebody. And I do not understand why we are a team that tries to play half-court offense. I would put an 18-second shot clock on this team and go down and say, hey, guys, I want this shot up by 12 on the shot clock every single time. And I think our offense would be better for it. You can't finish games trying to play half-court on the road like they did against Ohio State and have 42 field goal attempts. That's just – you're never going to win a game with that stat.
Yeah, the possessions in that game were really off the charts.
It was ridiculous. And it's not like they had 26 turnovers or something crazy. I mean, I remember the stats specifically. In the 2 games prior to this, they shot the ball 57 times. And in that game, they only shot the ball 42 times. And they only had, 13 turnovers or 15 turnovers or something? I mean, it wasn't like it was 26 turnover game. It was probably 4 or 5 more than what we would want them to have. But still, possession-wise, they need to be a 60-plus possession team, and they're not anywhere near it. I mean, they're playing at the pace they played in that Ohio State. They let C.J. Walker dictate that entire game, and it drove me nuts standing there watching it.
Well, and I mean, I guess to that point, Todd, if you feel like they need to get shots earlier in the clock and push the pace, take the first good shot that they get, I mean, that goes even more to your original point of going a little bit smaller, putting Brunk on the bench and putting guys on the floor that are skilled enough to play in transition. I mean, I've seen a lot of transition offense where it ends up in the hands of Brunk, like at the top of the key, and I'm thinking, what are you going to do with that?
Right.
So you got to have the guys out there that can do it.
And even Trace Jackson Davis. I mean, when he gets to the top of the key, I mean,
right.
You're like, that is point. If I was the other team, I would literally run underneath the rim.
Right.
If either of those guys had the ball out there isn't a chance you would see me get to the free throw line.
There are no games in the Big Ten tonight, guys, but tomorrow night, some pretty good ones. 3 games, and out of the 6 teams, 4 of those teams are ranked. We start with Rutgers is at Maryland. Todd mentioned this earlier. This is going to be Maryland has been on a roll. Rutgers is a good team, but, man, I just think Maryland's been playing well, and I don't see them losing that game.
Yeah, Rutgers away from home doesn't seem like the same team. I mean, they're tough.
They're
everywhere.
1-4 on the road.
Yeah, they're going to play Maryland hard. It's going to be a great defensive battle. I like both of those teams defensively, but I don't know if Rutgers can get away with the same style that they play at home. They're just very physical, and I think the officiating turns against them when they go on the road.
And Indiana was they were the elixir for Maryland in shooting the ball, because Maryland has struggled to shoot all year long, and then they come here and all of a sudden they turn their confidence and their whole season around. Because even the last ball game they played, they shot the ball really well at home. So if they shoot it well, there's no way Rutgers can beat them.
Yeah, and then the other great game, Penn State traveling to Michigan State, number 24 Penn State, number 14 Michigan State. Sparty's pretty tough at home.
Such an upside-down world to be talking about Penn State and Rutgers as the ranked teams.
Agree.
Fighting for the Big Ten lead.
But Penn State, I mean, honestly, if you really look at it, Michigan State is – I mean, they're good because they're Michigan State. They have the best guard in the league and one of the best players in the country, in Cassius Winston. And they have Tom Izzo, so they're always, it's like having Bill Belichick. They're always going to scheme something good. but they're not that great. And, I looked at their stats the other day, and Aaron Henry didn't play very well, and Gabe Brown didn't play very well, and Xavier Tillman just had a mediocre game. And when all those guys don't play that well, they are not very good. And Penn State, like, it would be a surprise if Michigan State lost at home because you don't really expect them to. But I wouldn't say I was shocked because Penn State, they're a good team, and they shoot the ball way better than Michigan State does. So it wouldn't crazily surprise me for them to go in there and win.
The other Big Ten game tomorrow night is not big ranking wise. It's teams that are in the bottom part of the conference, but very important. Ohio State at Michigan, two teams that they're probably fighting for a tournament berth.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, both of those teams were top 5 at one point in December, and now they're hanging on for dear life.
Think about that. Ohio State was probably 40 minutes away from being number 1 in the country. Had they not lost that Wisconsin game, they were poised to be elevated. The other teams under them had lost. And then Michigan, of course, ratcheted up to number 4. So these were both top 5 teams not that long ago, both of them facing the real possibility of not making the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, I'm telling you right now, this is a game. Both of these teams need a win so bad that another loss is going to absolutely kill them. And truly, if Ohio State goes in there and wins, I think it knocks Michigan to the point where I don't know that they can recover from it.
I agree with you.
And this is just, for this time of year where these two teams sit right now. This is their biggest game of the year. This is a gigantic game for them. One of them is going to end up 4-7 in the league. And think about that. They're going to have to win 3 games just to get back to 500. And that's going to be a battle. I know it shouldn't look like a great game, but that's going to be a competitive game that both teams just incredibly need to win.
That seems kind of like Indiana's next game, Todd, with Purdue coming in.
Same
situation.
It is. Yeah, it is. I agree. Purdue got a great comeback. I don't know if you watched that or not, but Purdue's comeback against Northwestern on the road the other day was pretty incredible. They were down 58-51 with 3 minutes to go, and finally made some shots and came back at the end of that game and got a big win. But yeah, you're right. The Ohio State-Michigan game is fairly similar to that Indiana-Purdue game on Saturday.
Mike, you got anything the folks need to know about to read on the Daily Hoosier?
Just going through a lot of the things that we've been talking about here, just why this game on Saturday is, in my opinion, make or break, and especially just to that last point. I just don't know how Indiana can lose a home game to a Big Ten opponent that's, they're equal or even less, and I don't know how well Archie can survive the mob if Indiana loses a 6th straight game to Purdue. I don't think it's reasonable to be talking about things like that, but at some point the mob turns on you, and 6 in a row against Purdue. They're not all his losses, but man, that's starting to get ugly.
But he hasn't beaten Purdue, has he?
Right. No, he's 0-3.
So, well, he gets his opportunity on Saturday. We'll find out. Mike, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it as always.
Thanks, gentlemen.
See you, bud.
Michael Schumann from the Daily Hoosier joining us. Make sure you check out his free coverage. We've got more coming up here to finish out the show. You're listening to Indiana Sports Beat with Coyle and Larry, coming to you from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios. We're back right after this.
You mess with her, you'll see a man getting mad. She's my sweet little thing. She's my pride and joy.
Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat. When I'm not covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, located on the northeast corner of I-65 at Veterans Parkway. Bubba's 33 has hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer from a select list of local craft brewers. An incredible food selection, all made fresh daily. Whether you're meeting the team for that post-win meal in the family dining area or meeting friends for happy hour to watch the game on one of Bubba's 50 TVs. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
I'm Rain Shaddy, and I'm a Hoosier. As a toddler, you could always find me running around in a cream and crimson onesie and a red IU hat reminiscent of those worn during the world-famous William Tell timeout, shouting, "Go Hoosiers!" Like many other alum, I chose to make Bloomington my home. As a civic and alumni leader, I have become very knowledgeable about our community and would love to share my insights with you as your realtor. Find me on Facebook or call or text me, Ryan Shaddy, with FC Tucker Bloomington Realtors at 765-623-9093.
Now that warm weather has arrived, it's time to hit the links, and there's no better place than the golf club at Eagle Point in Bloomington. Voted best golf course by the readers of the Bloomington Herald-Times, the golf club at Eagle Point is under new ownership, has new fairways and bunkers, and it's open to the public. When the round's over, there's cold beer and a full menu at the Eagle Point Pub and Bistro. Call 812-824-1100 to make a tee time. That's 812-824-1100. The golf club at Eagle Point in Bloomington.
This is AJ Moye.
This is Dan Dockett.
Hey, this is Michael Lord, former Indiana basketball player.
This is Indiana football coach Tom Allen.
This is Jim Coyle with the Indiana Sports Beat. You can always like and follow us on Facebook. Always follow the show rebroadcast on iTunes, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Spotify. TheDailyHoosier.com is a great place to sign up for each and every day. Or, of course, on 97.7 The Ref in Evansville.
Bad theater seats, cheap Halloween masks, my apartment, all things with obstructed views. Add to these large trucks and buses. 18-wheelers and large buses have big blind spots, and like my apartment, they don't always have the best view. Bus and truck drivers deal with blind spots around the entire vehicle. Always take care not to ride alongside or too close behind them. Our roads, our safety. Learn more at sharetheroadsafely.gov.
This is former Indiana basketball player Greg Graham. Keep up with the Hoosiers on Indiana Sports Beat with Jim Coyle.
Living in the street. Oh, there's a solution.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat. Coyle, Leary, we got the solution. It's Monday, February 3rd, coming to you from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios. Been another great show. Great way to start the week. How about this weather, Todd Leary? Is this nuts?
Oh, my gosh. Yesterday was so beautiful. It was incredible. You know, when it's 61 degrees out and it's, September, it kind of feels cold because you're used to it being warm all the time. But when it's 61 and it's been 30, oh, my
You're like,
gosh.
where are the shorts?
Oh, it's awesome. I saw so many people in shorts and T-shirts yesterday, I couldn't stand it. It wasn't quite that warm.
Yeah, I never got to that point. I don't think I ever really took my little lightweight Cincinnati jacket off, but it's just so nice to see the sun. That's the thing. Seeing the sun. It's so cloudy all winter.
It is true. The gray really, really makes it dreary.
I hope it's a sunny night for the women Hoosiers as they travel to West Lafayette tonight to take on the Purdue Boilerettes. And that was just a joke, by the way. In women's basketball, this is a game. It's a big time game for Indiana. Indiana's got to keep winning this. They get on that little slide where they lost 3 in a row because they were bumping heads at the top of the standings. They're not far off. They're like a game and a half back, but you got 3 good teams in front of them that are going to be hard to displace.
It's a road game, right?
This is a road game. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it'll be a tough one. Purdue's always pretty good. And a lot of times they're really good, but this year they're pretty good. But I mean, they're obviously better, as most teams are, in that dungeon they've got up there. So it'll be a good win for the Hoosiers. They need it.
I think it's tonight Archie's radio show, Jake.
Yes.
There you go. So you guys can catch Archie's radio show tonight, and then of course we'll have some clips from that tomorrow.
Hopefully he's going to announce a new starting lineup. That'd be sweet.
Yeah. I doubt that's going to happen. That'll happen on Saturday, but it's funny you say that because I was thinking, what is the reaction by the crowd, which I think is going to be gigantic, if Jerome Hunter is announced as a starter?
You know what? I think Joey Brunk is such a fan favorite. I think people like his, it looks like he's busting his butt out there. I don't know that it'll be a crowd.
Well, I mean, just because of all the stuff he's gone through, and
that's a guy that if he starts hitting shots, he's going to become a fan favorite real fast because of all he's gone through. And
he's in a terrific position because Indiana needs to change its whole, gosh, I need to come up with a new word besides identity, but it needs to change its whole, what way it approaches things and it needs to play differently and it needs to play faster. And that's a more fun brand of basketball to watch. And so Jerome Hunter, if he gets inserted into the starting lineup, or even if he doesn't start, if he just plays a lot and they use that lineup a lot, I told you in the game the other day in that second half of Ohio State, I'm telling you, Archie doesn't stick with something for very long if he doesn't like it. And he stuck with that lineup that I mentioned a little while ago that included Jerome Hunter and did not have Joey Brunk on the floor. So they were faster paced and getting up and down the floor. He stuck with that longer than a lineup he wouldn't like. So that's why I just think that there's a good opportunity for that to happen. And Jerome Hunter sits in a great position because if they come out and change the brand of basketball and it looks better and they score some points easily, I think it's something they could easily stick with for quite a while. And it could propel them to, have a different type season. Joey Brunk could play an incredible role on this team as a guy that comes off the bench. There's too much expected out of him if he starts and they throw the ball to him, the first, 6 of the first 8 times down the floor. If they throw the ball to him in the post, he's supposed to score. He's supposed to try to score. And that's not his game. It wasn't his game at Butler. It's not been his game in Indiana.
And back in September or last October, whenever it was, when we were in Evansville and Archie was talking, to hear him, you thought we were going to be watching UNLV play.
Yeah, exactly. You thought it was going to be Loyola Marymount.
And let me tell you, it ain't been anything close to that. And I don't understand. We're 20 games into this season. Why is that not the case? This is something that he said this is a point of emphasis, and it hasn't happened.
Yeah, and everything you just said is exactly right. I sat there right next to you. We listened to them talk. They talked about the fast pace they were going to play. They were also going to have an aggressive type defense and be putting a lot of pressure on people. And I don't think we really see that happen very much. And, I think the faster pace would benefit way more guys on the team. I think it would benefit Al Durham. I think it would benefit Rob Finney. I know it would benefit Devontae Green. I think Justin Smith would be better at it. Those guys, no one that I have named is a great half court offensive player, and those guys are always on the court. So I just think that the team in general would benefit from a faster pace.
I agree with you, man. Couldn't agree with you anymore. As a matter of fact, and I'd sort of like to see. And Archie's talked about they've got to make changes.
How many times do we see this though? And it's not Archie Miller; it's coaches in general. Tom Izzo. If you listen to Tom Izzo in the post-game press conference after the Indiana game, he acted like there was getting ready to be wholesale changes going on at Michigan State. And they came out and started the exact same lineup in the next game. Coaches do this all the time. And I don't know if it's their way of motivating players. The players are going to read what they say in the press conference, which generally doesn't happen.
You mean if you don't get over here, I'm going to count to 3. One,
right.
1, 2,
1 and a half.
2 and a half. Yeah. It's just like it is. It's exactly what it's like, man.
I mean, at some point you got to get the last 2 games have put him there. I mean, Maryland, they still played pretty good, and Maryland made enough shots to win that game. The last 2 games, not a single guy could you step out and say they played really well, and they played well, and they played well enough to win.
The sad thing is the Maryland game was one of their best games they played all year until the last 60 seconds, a minute, 2 minutes. They played so well. They shot the ball. They played well.
They came back from, Maryland buried them to start the game. I mean, they made every shot they put up. And Indiana just gnawed away at it, got it back to where I think they were down 7 or 8 at halftime and started the second half out. I mean, you talk about making adjustments, and Archie catches a lot of flack sometimes for making adjustments or not making adjustments. At the halftime of that game, they came out and looked as good in the first 7 minutes of that second half as they have in 3 years. And they put themselves in a position to win and did everything. The last minute and 20 seconds of that game, if they do one decision that they did different, they win. but every decision they made was wrong.
And there's too many times in a season where games come down to critical decisions, and you got to make more of those correctly than you do falsely, or you're going to put yourself in a bad position. And Indiana's kind of there.
And they're in a slide right now. They've lost 3 games in a row. It's not like they're playing, Sisters of the Poor this weekend. I mean, they're playing Purdue, and then they're going to play Iowa. I mean, they're playing 2 really good teams. Yes, they're at home, and yes, we expect them to win because they're at home, but they're not going to be layup games. And if they don't win both of those games, I truly believe we will look back to that last 2 minutes of the Maryland game as the beginning of the decline. Yep, the beginning of when everything went downhill.
Absolutely, because for a fact Purdue, they ain't coming in here not wanting to win, and for a fact Iowa's not coming in here not wanting to win, and Iowa damn sure has the talent to get that done. Purdue doesn't really quite have that talent. Not to say it couldn't happen.
Here's what scares me about Purdue. They have the best defensive player in the league in, what's his name? Nogel Eastern. He's the best defensive player, maybe one of the best defensive players I've ever seen. And they have him, and they have a 7'4" guy or 7'2" guy that can just get quirky and make some plays and is emotional, and they get behind him. And then they've got some guards in Stevanovic. If that guy gets it going, he can make it from anywhere. And then they've got a guard, Eric Hunter, that he and Rob Finney have a personal battle back and forth with each other because they came out of high school at the same time. They are being recruited by somewhat the same schools, and they're going to battle back and forth against each other. And believe me, this is not a team that I haven't even mentioned Travion Williams. I mean, this guy had 38 points a couple of games ago. I mean, they're not a bad team. And if they shoot the ball even halfway decent, I think right now if you gave them 38% shooting in the game, they'd take it. And if they do shoot 38%, they're going to have a chance to win against Indiana. Their defense is that good.
I cannot disagree with you, my friend. I cannot disagree with you. We'll get to come back tomorrow and talk about it more, but we'll get to talk about those Big Ten games tomorrow night as well and see what Indiana women get done tonight as we head forward on the week. Chronic Hoosier will join us tomorrow. We'll see what else we can get scared up for you as well. But pretty much going to wrap it up for us today. We appreciate Jake keeping us on the track. Todd O'Leary, and I'm Jim Coyle. Until tomorrow, I will see you on the radio.